Tower of God definitely has a very dedicated fan base, and I think that's mostly due to how the series masters slow burn. And that really just means it sets up a lot of events that get paid off way later in the series. And it's just really satisfying to see something get brought up so early on, and you think that the author really forgot about it, but he's just waiting for it to come full circle and be more relevant later on in the story. And I am going to give examples of this, and I'm caught up on the Webtoon, so expect spoilers. This is my spoiler warning. 3, 2, 1, hopping in. Season 1 is mostly really boring. I've said this in all of my videos and I still stick by that now, but it's mostly understandable. It's essentially a prologue to the story of Tower of God. And of course, at the climax of this prologue, we have Bam getting pushed down and Rachel pretty much telling him to die here. And its execution was pretty phenomenal if you ask me. I mean, we were pretty suspicious of Rachel from the very beginning. I don't think most people thought, I know I didn't think that she had Bam's best interests in mind. But that one moment made the entirety of season 1 worth it. And of course there are other things too. I mean, Fug as an organization, how involved they were with Bam pretty much getting kidnapped. Yuhan Sung was a pretty suspicious guy from the very beginning, so I don't think anybody was surprised when he was involved with the whole thing. But seeing a pretty, at the time, minor character like Hwaryeon be involved with the whole thing, it definitely caught a lot of people off guard, and myself included. But heading into season 2, it changes everything. Bam is now Viol, and instead of Khun, Rak, and Endorsi, we have Team Sweet and Sour. And even here, and I know it comes off as tedious, but trust me, it's worth it. I would say that everything before the workshop battle is essentially the prologue for season 2. But before getting into the workshop battle itself, I have to talk about Yurik Mazino because his character is such a great example of slow burn. And that might not seem like it makes sense because of how hype his first appearance is, but his appearances are sporadic throughout the series, and I'll go into more detail when we get to those moments. But obviously when it comes to the workshop battle and why it's so satisfying, it's because we get to reunite with the original cast. Rak and Endorsi meeting Bam for the first time in so long was one of the most wholesome moments, and probably still is the most wholesome moment in the entire series. There are plenty of other payoffs during the workshop battle, but I think I'm going to go ahead and move on to the Hell Train arc, because here is the first time that Rachel and Bam meet after she pushed him down the first time. And I say the first time because here she does it again. But we did get to see something a lot different here. We got to see a yandere Bam, because I always wondered what happened to Bam when it came to his mental state. Going through what Bam went through would obviously be a huge mental strain. I mean, dedicating your life pretty much to someone and then that person attempting to kill you not once but twice, it just makes you wonder the effect that could have on someone's mind. And given the type of character Bam is, that being a very wholesome person, a very pure person, it was just really surprising to see him take the route that he decided to take. And of course, I can't talk about the Hell Train without talking about Joaquin, or White. If someone's picture was beside the phrase slow burn, it would definitely be Joaquin. I mean, he talks himself up so much and he gets a lot of shit for this, but he talks himself up a lot, all the way from the Hell Train to late in season 3 when we finally see him at his full power. But heading on to the name hunt floor. Alright, so far all the setups I've talked about have been kind of major, but I'm going to talk about 2 minor ones here. The first one being Hatz's sword, and this is where it first gets set up and we still don't have payoff for it, but I'm expecting to see it pretty soon because of how relevant Hatz is in season 3. The other being Anak and Endorsi's punishment, and I say punishment loosely because Endorsi, I don't think she's been convicted of a crime or anything by helping Anak, but she's definitely under a lot of suspicion for it. And I'm just glad to finally see this be brought back up into the series because it was pretty relevant during season 1. But that's not all I have to talk about when it comes to Endorsi, because in the Floor of Death she does talk to Grom. And just for context reasons, Grom was the Zahad princess that ran away and pretty much abandoned her role as princess. Endorsi asked what it's like because she's thinking about doing it herself. And I definitely think that's a huge setup that shouldn't be overlooked. And of course the big stuff in this arc is finding out more about Bam's history, his mother, and her relationship to Zahad. So we just got kind of like a little snack pretty much when it comes comes to his backstory and where he came from. And not only did we get some payoff, but we got some setup too, because he does absorb a pretty significant power. This does lead up to the hidden floor where we get Zahad's first appearance, that being just a data version of himself. But then of course we do get I think it's another data version, but it's an older data version at the very end. I wasn't too sure on that, to be honest. So we get two Zahads, the former and now the current one, I'm guessing, both showing up in the hidden floor arc, which of course is pretty crazy considering he's the overarching antagonist, or at least that's what he's set up to be right now. And of course I can't talk about Zahad without talking about Wagnon and Karaka, because both of these dudes are closely tied to Zahad, and we've been getting hints at the direction that Wagnon would take from season 2. But of course the best thing to come out of the hidden floor arc is when Bam threatens Rachel, and of course he threatens her because of what she does to Khun, but seeing him pretty much abandon his dedication to her is one of the best moments in the entire series, and there are actual repercussions to her actions. And of course, ending my talks about season 2 off is the final arc, The Last Station. Here we start seeing Bam's powers come full circle, and he can actually work on mastering all the numerous abilities that he's gained. Now, I don't remember too many payoffs here. I do remember quite a few setups though, and all of the setups are going to have a huge impact on the series. Now, the first one, this is the one that I have no idea where this is going to go, but pretty much Yuri wants to meet Zahad, or at least I'm pretty sure it's Zahad, or it's the head of her clan, the Ha clan or whatever, but I'm 99% sure she meant Zahad. And like I said, that's such a crazy thing that I have no idea where that could possibly go. And of course, the thing that's impacting season 3 the most right now is that Jin Sung Ha got captured. And with Bam being who he is, he's of course going to try his very hardest to get his master back. But with the whole capturing of Jin Sung Ha, Calivan, the dude who captured him, has been the first great antagonist in the series. I mean, if we're not counting Rachel, because she is kind of an oddball and I don't really know what the vast majority of people qualify her as. But yeah, besides Calivan, I'm pretty sure there hasn't been any great antagonists. I mean, they've all eventually turned into good guys, so I don't really know who I could say really competes with him. Like, I can definitely see White taking his place in the future, but as of right now, Calivan is pretty much the only good antagonist the series has going for it. And in season 3, I don't think we've gotten too many of the payoffs right now. I think those are further down the line, but of course we did get Bam mastering his abilities. I mean, obviously not 100% master, but he's fighting rankers, so he's definitely gotten a lot stronger. And of course we have White finally appearing, like I mentioned earlier. Now I imagine we're gonna get some stuff with Hots pretty soon, because he's been hanging out with White and watching how he uses his sword and stuff like that. And given that White was talking about Hots' sword and saying it's a really good sword, but you know, you're not that good of a swordsman, so I'm expecting to see something there. And I know that I brought up Yurik Mazino earlier, but all of his appearances were in season 2 and they're really sporadic, and that's why I think that he's such a good example of slow burn, because you only see him every once in a while, and when he does show up, it's just so hype. And this is the case with a lot of characters like Rand, but I think I'd put Yurik at the top of that list. Now, finishing off with what people hate to hear for some reason, and that's comparisons to other series. I don't really know why people hate hearing comparisons between series, but I'm gonna go ahead and talk about Tower of God compared to Hunter x Hunter and One Piece, just in terms of how they use slow burn. And it's gonna be really quick. Like with One Piece, pretty much the formula that they use when they go to these islands, first thing they do is always split up, and that's generally the slow part. They all spend time doing all these different things, and eventually it all concludes when they come back together and the hype moments happen. And of course in Hunter x Hunter, you spend a lot of time with different groups doing different things. This can really slow the pacing down, and I really felt it during the Chimera Ant arc, but as many people know, the Chimera Ant arc is one of the best arcs in shonen. So while I did find it boring at first, when everything came full circle, I just absolutely loved the arc and saw it for what it was, one of the best arcs in shonen. And I think that Tower of God goes about telling its story in a similar way to both of those series. It's not about instant gratification, it's more about the satisfaction of achieving a long-term goal. But that's going to be pretty much it for me. Tell me what you guys thought in the comments below, and this is Rummy, signing out.